Hello, word nerds, and happy Sunday. Welcome to our book club chat, and we are talking about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which is probably one of my favorite Harry Potter books. It's definitely in the top 7. So first, what are you guys' Hogwarts houses? That's what I'm going to ask you guys as an icebreaker. So, Emma, I have you first.
I'm a Ravenclaw. I'm wearing a Ravenclaw shirt right now. Can't see it, but yeah.
Yeah. Kelly?
Also Ravenclaw.
Yes, lots of blue.
Yes.
Rachel?
I dressed appropriately today. I am a Slytherin.
Nice. And Megan?
I am a Gryffindor.
Yay! I am a Hufflepuff.
Oh,
we have quick story, sidebar. I had a Harry Potter identity crisis a little bit ago.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. So I know, like a little bit ago, you guys know that the Pottermore site like completely like re-updated, and you had to like do your sorting quiz and all that again.
What?
Yeah, this was like months ago. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
It's been a while, but I didn't know that because it'd been so long since I logged into Pottermore, and so like probably like 6 months ago, no, longer than that. Before Fantastic Beasts came out, I logged in because I wanted to find out what my Livermore house was, and I was like, and it made me retake the Hogwarts test, and I was like, oh okay. And I've always identified as a Ravenclaw. The first Pottermore Ravenclaw my entire life. I was like, I'm a Ravenclaw. When those yellow colors came up on my screen, I sat there for like 30 minutes questioning everything. I was like, I don't know how to function as a human right now. It was a lot, but I've come to terms with my puffiness.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Everyone's always like, you're a redhead, like you must be a Weasley, like you're definitely a Gryffindor. And I'm like, oh, no, no, let the redhead be evil just a little bit.
So, did you guys like notice or like re-fall in love with anything from this book that you like hadn't noticed or had forgot about the first time you read it?
It's also good.
Yeah.
This was my favorite one for a long time.
I do love, like, I think sometimes I kind of ignore the early books because I've read them so many times, and because like plot-wise the later books are like more important and have more going on. But like I love going back and like when you read the first like 3 books, like it just reminds you of like why you loved Hogwarts so much and like why we fell in love with these books, because it's just like so magical in the early books.
Yeah.
And all the little details of what it's like to go to school there and be a student and everything.
Yes. Chamber of Secrets was. Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
That wasn't me.
Oh, Megan.
It was me. I had like a few moments where, because like as a kid, this one was not my favorite. It was like one of my less favorite ones. But as an adult, I like it a lot more because I feel like I appreciate the mystery and stuff. But when I was listening to it this time, I kept having these like realizations of like, why can't the Ministry of Magic tell the difference between an underage wizard using magic and a house elf using magic? And why don't the Weasleys reevaluate the way they travel places? Times in 48 hours, they lose a child.
Yeah, I think they I still am kind of like, why don't they have a way to tell who's doing the magic? Although I guess maybe that's like too like invasive to be like, we know when everyone is doing magic. But I think they have said before that it's basically like they know when magic is being used like in the vicinity of an underage wizard, and like if you live with muggles, then they're like, must be you. So like I guess like kids who have wizard parents can get away with it. I don't know, and their parents are just supposed to make sure they don't.
It seems like a flawed system.
I've heard that too, but I don't know if it's like fanon or canon.
I think it's canon. I think J.K. Rowling said it, but I'm not totally positive. But yeah, it does seem flawed.
That definitely seems flawed. That's probably why like pureblood wizards like are always like ahead of their peers.
Yeah,
probably. hadn't even thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a very quick random question. I have the illustrated one, but I hadn't never looked through the second one before. What is happening here? Like, what
Whoa.
scene is this?
Whoa.
I didn't even know that had that in there.
What's happening right before that? Like in the book?
My only guess would be flu powder.
I hadn't read it. It's near the
It
end.
looks really far in.
Yeah.
And he's like falling into a
Is that
room
in
full
the
of
Chamber of-
books.
Oh, is he coming? Oh, is that the Chamber of Secrets? Oh, so he's coming out of that dream sequence in the diary?
Oh, maybe.
That probably makes sense.
But yeah, that,
Because I'm
Either
looking
going
at
into
me
the
like,
diary or
I
coming out.
don't remember this.
Yeah, I'm just like,
the pictures in the illustrated version are so
Oh, yeah.
pretty.
The word diary is on the page before. I'm going to
okay,
take that as
okay.
confirmation.
Yeah, I must see what he's doing in. Yeah. That makes sense. He's wearing his pajamas because he does that like in his room or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at night. Yeah. I also love just like rediscovering how like unobservant and like kind of dumb Harry can be sometimes. Like, I just read like the
Definitely.
first like 150 pages, and it's like within those 150 pages, like Harry. Okay, so first off, I just cannot get over the fact it like doesn't seem that weird as a kid, but then when you look back on it, that like Ron and Harry can't get through the platform, and their first thought is, let's just fly this car to school.
yeah.
Let's not wait for parents. Like
Wait 5 seconds for my parents to come back and see why I'm
Yeah,
late.
exactly.
I know that Ron is like, well, my parents won't be able to come back through the platform. But just a few minutes later, he's like, oh, my parents can apparate. And I'm like, don't you expect your parents would apparate back to the car if they couldn't get through the platform? Like, just go. Because Harry's even like, we can wait by the car. And Ron's like, no, let's fly it. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like a good idea.
I like that Dobby had enough of a sense of what like 12-year-old boys are like. They're like, yeah, this will solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was gonna, well, I mean, like they are 12-year-old boys. But okay, when I was
12-year-old
5 years
Gryffindor
old,
boys.
yeah, true. When I was 5 years old, I was in kindergarten. I went to the bathroom, and my kindergarten class went to the music room without me. My teacher forgot about me, and I calmly went to the front of this. Like, I went to the office, and I was like, "Hi, my class is in the music class right now. Can you take me out there?" And she's like, "Oh, okay." And, like, I showed up at the class with the secretary. They're like, "Hi, I'm here." And my teacher so embarrassed. She's like, oh, I forgot this child, but like I was 5 years old and I made it to someplace. Come on, 11-year-old boys, like I had enough sense in me to be able to talk to an adult.
But even also like another thing I love is that like when Filch takes Harry because he's like dripping mud all over the school or whatever, and then like Peeves distracts him by breaking the vanishing cabinet. That Harry like doesn't leave Filch's office. He just sits there and waits for him. He like literally says, "It seems like the best thing to do is just wait for Filch to come back." And I'm like, Harry, take the form and run. Like, just get out. He just sits around, waiting for his punishment.
That's what I would do. I'd be like,
So
they're not
responsible.
going to forget to punish me.
Yeah, you'd get in more trouble if you ran.
This whole book, though, did bring up my biggest soapbox issue, which is justice for movie Ron Weasley. Ron is great, and he had so many lines in the Chamber of Secrets that they gave to Hermione, and she didn't need them. Hermione was awesome on her own.
Yes.
And Ron was clever. He was the insight into the wizarding world. He just like is totally there for Harry. He's like, oh no, you got to get to school, bro. I was buying this car for us.
I have this car, we can make it.
Ron's the idea man. It may not be a good idea, but he's got ideas.
But he's got them.
Yeah.
It's true. I'm always so upset about what they did to Ron. Ron and Ginny, both of them just really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justice for Weasleys.
Yeah.
I'm always irritated about how they portrayed Jenny in the movies. Like,
Right? She's
She's
just like, oh my god, like Harry's so cute, and then you just like, that's it.
Jenny was such a vanilla character in the movies. Like, she only came in when she was like extremely relevant to the plot, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of forget about her until like movie 5. Like,
Yeah, right.
Oh. I love the entire sequence at the Weasleys' house for the first time ever. It's like possibly one of my favorite things in the whole series is like Harry going to their house for the first time and seeing like how a wizarding family lives, and like the weird conflict of Ron being really self-conscious of his house and feeling like because they're poor, Harry won't like it. And then Harry simultaneously feeling like this is the most wonderful, magical place he's ever been.
It's
Like,
I
it's so
love
well written
it.
that you feel that all. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's crazy going back and like reading these books, especially the early ones as an adult. Because as a kid, I somehow just like did not pick up on like just how terrible the Dursleys were. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know, as a kid you're like, oh yeah, the Dursleys suck. But like you go back and read them as an adult and you're like, they feed him nothing but like cold soup.
Soup, yeah. Where's CPS? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
really?
Like they starve him. They lock him in his room and starve him. And I'm like, this is awful.
Mhm.
And I did not like realize how awful it was as a
Like,
kid.
why did no one from the neighborhood question that they put bars on one window?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, because we know that neighborhood was nosy.
Yeah.
True.
Oh,
My
didn't they tell him that he was like crazy or something? Because he
Oh,
went
yeah,
to that
like,
special.
he's like unhinged or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
That's what they tell everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
he goes to a special school. They're terrible
Still.
people.
That
I feel
also
like-
makes you question Dumbledore's decision making of like, really, this was the best.
Only
Like, you
way.
can't even check in on him and make them feed him.
nope.
Yeah.
He's like, he's gonna be a hero one day. He has to do some suffering.
Yeah. I also like what that does for my understanding of Dumbledore, though, and like, because as a kid, I was like, oh, Dumbledore, he's the man. Like,
wise
he's
old
the
man.
wise old
Yeah.
hero who's like puppeteering it all, and then like J.K. Rowling tried or did like show you in 6 and 7 that maybe he wasn't all those things, but I was still a teenager. Like, I was this junior in high school, I think, when the last one came out, and so it was still very like, oh, Dumbledore is this like untouchable figure.
Well, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
But now, like, it's like, no, he like messed up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy, yeah, to see that like she really did lay that groundwork all along. You know, that like when you can go back, like with like a better vision and understanding of it, and like realize that yeah, like Dumbledore was completely focused on like the end goal. You know, and so he made like really crappy decisions for Harry because he was like, well, this is what has to happen.
Mhm.
And he forgot to pay attention to like what was best for Harry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I was also getting like a rekindled appreciation for Hagrid. That was so weird. I mentioned Hagrid and I saw a comment pop up that mentioned Hagrid like right at the same time. But like he's basically Sirius Black before Harry had a Sirius Black, and he's like always there. And like they go over there when Malfoy calls Hermione a mudblood, and
Mhm.
Ron is puking up all the slugs, and Hagrid is just like, I would have done worse to him. Like,
Hagrid's so underappreciated.
yeah.
He also deserved better in the movies. We needed more Hagrid.
More.
We needed more. Like, why couldn't we have had like a Harry Potter like TV series and like each chapter was like an episode and have like 7 seasons? Like, that's what we really needed. Let's be honest.
Yes. Along the Hagrid lines, we had an interesting question from Yuri asking, what do you think about Hagrid's comments about it being bad blood, referring to the Malfoys, particularly when the issue of like mudbloods was so important?
That is interesting. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have thought about the fact that there is prejudice, you know, like where there's the prejudice against, yeah, like Muggle-born people and Muggles, there's also like a ton of prejudice against like purebloods and Slytherins too, you know, where like, I mean, they have more privilege, so it's like not as bad, but there still is like the whole attitude of like, oh, they're gonna be bad.
The Slytherins.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like purebloods too, like a lot of people just think like all purebloods are like stuck up, but the Weasleys are purebloods.
Yeah.
Oh, the Weasleys are great.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And I feel like in the it's not until like Cursed Child even that you explore the idea that there could be a Slytherin who turns out good. That's just not something that J.K. Rowling ever did in the original series.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, take all the Slytherins to the dungeons in book 7,
right?
because
Like,
none of them are gonna fight with you.
Yeah. I feel like all you get in the books is Regulus Black. Because he like defected. But even he like started out bad.
Yeah, and like
Only on
defected
the
from
edges.
Death Eater, not necessarily just general Slytherin tomfoolery.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, like Slytherins get a bad rap because, like, I don't think I'm evil. Well, maybe like a little bit, but you know.
But really, in the books, like Harry interacts with such a small percentage of Slytherins too. Like, there's so many other Slytherins that like
Yeah.
aren't Draco Malfoy or
Well, I think it was
Voldemort.
kind of like,
You know?
yeah. Well, it pushed with like, you know, the basilisk being like, Domino's a Slytherin. There's big basilisk. Like, snakes are bad. All Slytherins are bad. The only people we see are awful. And then like the house just never gets redeemed. You're like, all right, well,
Yeah.
all snake people are bad then. That's
Probably
I
a
mean,
big part of why
except
Cursed
for
Child
Slytherin.
that like, oh, Slytherin redemption. Yes, we like them now.
yeah. I was waiting for someone. No, that's okay. Although I do like Malfoy.
Same. This is like the biggest argument that my husband and I have in our marriage.
Really?
Is that I feel like Draco Malfoy deserved better, and he feels like Draco got exactly what he deserved. And we fight about it like once a month.
I wanted just like slightly more of a redemption arc for Draco. Like his like story arc is like close to what I wanted, but I'm like I just wanted a little bit more. But, like,
Okay,
I am glad that in the end he isn't like condemned or anything, you know.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna jump a lot to the very last movie, and I'm trying not to like go on movie tangents here, but I know that there's a deleted scene in the very last movie of Draco like kind of like shouting when he sees Harry and like running to the other side to be a part of him and his army, and that's so cool. And they cut it out of the movie, and I was so mad because that is the perfect redemption scene ever. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Malfoy could have been so much better.
And I really thought like with the sixth book that we were going towards more of a redemption arc for him because he had that. I love his arc in the sixth book. I think it's perfect because like yeah, he is like a little shit in the first few books because he's like 11 and grew up 11. Super spoiled and super prejudiced. Like he's exactly who you'd expect him to be, you know, and who everyone expects him to be. And so, like the sixth book, I love his arc, and so going into the seventh one, I thought it was going to go further, and it didn't really. Other than like he does have like his little moments where he like he refuses to like identify Harry in the manor and stuff like that, but like he didn't get quite that push that I wanted him to redeem, which I guess is more realistic, but I wanted it.
Yeah, one of my favorite totally non-canon fan theories is how in the second movie they show the scene where Draco rips a page out of a book in the bookshop at the very beginning, and then they theorize that Draco is the one who slipped Hermione the page, because why would Hermione destroy a book when she could have just took the whole thing?
Right. But then that would have to mean that Malfoy somehow knew about the basilisk.
I mean, Dobby
powers.
knew.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Dobby knew, and they were all in the same house.
Did Dobby know that it
is
was a
true.
basilisk though?
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Dobby's main goal was just keeping Harry out of Hogwarts.
Yeah. So I just mostly what I question is I don't know if Draco knew about the basilisk.
I don't know.
Because Dobby
I
figured there was
They can figure it out.
Yeah.
Hogwarts.
And I doubt they were like just like the adult Malfoys were just ominously talking about something bad. Like they would have been more specific when like they didn't know they were being overheard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't even know that. I just don't know if any of the Malfoys knew that it was a basilisk because I don't think Dobby ever says anything about the basilisk. Yeah, that's my point. Is that Lucius Malfoy just knew it was something important to Voldemort. Basically, that's what he knew about the diary.
But they also knew about the heir of Slytherin.
Yeah.
It's an interesting theory though. I like it.
Yeah. I like
Don't
it because
debunk
it
it.
lines up with other things that Draco did, like in the books. Like when push came to shove, someone was about to die. Draco always like misidentified or refused to identify Harry, or like it's going to his parents and stuff.
Yeah.
I also love the Draco is a werewolf theory, but that one's less believable. It's less easy to slip in.
Yeah.
We had a question from Isabel. Have y'all seen the comic My Life as a Background Slytherin? And yes, it's so great.
Oh my gosh.
I love that, like, the last few weeks, it's been a series of, like, Draco told me to do this thing to prove that I am Slytherin. But if I do it, am I proving that I am not Slytherin because I'm being too loyal? Should I backstab him? It's so funny. And when she does the, like, background Gryffindors and Hufflepuffs, too, it's always so accurate. We had someone talking about Narcissa, but I believe the part we were referring to is the part actually in Malfoy Manor when Harry's face is all messed up. And they asked Draco to tell them for sure if it's Harry. And Draco is like, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not sure. We've got some Hermione shippers.
Yeah.
No. It's Drinny. Hermione.
Oh, Hermione. Sorry.
My husband also listened. Yeah. He also listened to the book this month for book club with us, I guess, or just for fun. And we have, like, since the last time either of us read it, we both watched a Harry Potter musical for the first time.
Yes.
And he was telling me about how it super felt like anytime Draco is being whiny, it's usually about Hermione. And so it definitely felt like I'm falling in love.
Yes. I
Also,
love, like,
I lived with you for like 3 years and
you never watched it. I know, and I kept telling you to, and you never did.
I never
It was the same with Lost. I was always like, you need to watch Lost, and you never did.
The second I moved out, I watched them all.
But yeah, I love, like, that scene in Borgin and Burkes when we see Draco and Lucius together, and he's just, like, whining about Harry the whole time. His dad is like, shut up about Harry Potter. I'm so sick of hearing about. Like, you can tell that he's just been complaining about Harry and Hermione all summer long. And his dad is like, you've told me all of this already.
Oh.
That's super cute.
I also, like, as a kid, this bothered me, but as a writer, I really appreciate how J.K. Rowling, like, avoids writing certain things. Like, I was thinking about how, like, the Sorting Hat song we don't get in every single book, and I just, like, I see it as J.K. Rowling being like, okay, I set up this thing where the Sorting Hat sings every year, but I don't want to have to write a song every year, so how can I have Harry miss the sorting ceremony over and over again?
His songwriting is hard. Let's not do this.
Because there's only, like, 3 out of the 7 books. Because Harry keeps missing it. That and, like, Quidditch games. She's always canceling Quidditch games. And I know she said that those were really hard to write. So I'm like, that's why you kept canceling Quidditch every year.
It would be hard to write. Like, any sport, really.
Yeah. Especially when you have to do it over and over again like that and have a different, like, scenario and a different outcome every time.
And, like, not even that, like, a different, like, plot thing has to get thrown in there as well. Like, it's never just a Quidditch game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
These poor kids are just trying to play some sports. Just trying to be active.
It's part of what I love
for the day.
I feel like that summarizes a lot of the series. These kids just want to play Quidditch. And all the evil stuff.
Yeah. And that's part of what I love about the 3rd book so far. Like, it was part of why it was my favorite one as a kid, was because they actually got to play, like, their entire season of Quidditch and, like, win the Quidditch Cup. And I was like,
finally! There's one character we haven't talked about yet, Lockhart.
I forgot all about him.
Lockhart is fun. Like,
He's just ridiculous.
it's part of like, because after the second one was my favorite, now hardcore fifth one is my favorite. But it's the Umbridge and the Lockhart of just that character that really makes you feel something. It's like, this is so annoying. Like, that is what is memorable for me, is those characters that just like, you feel like they are there interfering with your life in person.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, just rereading, I was getting so annoyed with like every time Lockhart would show up and be like, "Oh, Harry, I know you're just trying to act like you're famous, but you're not." And every time I was like, "Shut up!"
Oh, bloody hell, Lockhart.
Was it Lockhart or Ravenclaw?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm
thought.
pretty sure. For
And
some
it's also,
reason,
I think she said that's like the only character that she like ever based on a real person was Lockhart.
Really?
Yeah, that's what Kimberly said. Like she's never said, but she's like, yeah, she always said like there was only one character she ever based on a real person, and it was Lockhart. And she's like, I think when she first said that years ago, she was like, I won't say who it is, but the person who it is will probably assume it because they assume everything is about them.
that's amazing.
Awesome.
That's really
For some reason, in the audiobook, like the way he spoke made Lockhart sound like Austin Powers a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
It was very strange. We had a question from Yuri, who personally thought Lockhart in the movie was better than in the book, and they were wondering what we think of book versus movie Lockhart.
I think Kenneth Branagh does a great job as Lockhart.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh is just
He's just
awesome.
amazing.
See, I wanted movie Lockhart to be more handsome. I like, as a child and as an adult, I look at him and I'm like, you're telling me you made Mrs. Weasley and Hermione swoon? Come on.
Okay, I was gonna say, Hermione, I don't really like. You haven't yet been a middle-aged woman. Once you're there, like, that is. And then Hermione's always been a little bit more middle-aged than most of her peers.
But he had the whole like spectrum of ages swooning. I just didn't buy.
Yeah, true.
His acting was great though, as Lockhart.
Yeah.
Movie
just
Lockhart
thought
was
it was
more
great.
fun and less cringy. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, this is delightful.
Yeah.
And he has such a sinister end that I'd never really appreciated as a child. Like, that is dark.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, that was not a good person.
No.
He tries to take a child's memory and then, as punishment, like, he loses his own memory forever. Like, he's in St. Mungo's in the end of the series.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling is so good.
So good.
I also was thinking when I was reading this, because so it's been a little while since I've watched the second movie, but in the scene in the bookstore when they like run into the Malfoys, like, don't you get like a hint that he like slipped the diary in? Like, don't you like see part of the diary going into the book or something?
And
I feel like they made it more, in the movie they like made it more obvious or something.
they like zoom in on the cauldron when he tips her books back in.
Okay.
So you don't
'Cause
necessarily like see the diary there, but
Mm.
you see him tip the books back in.
Because I felt like it was like something like more obvious. Anyway, I was just thinking about how like I've always appreciated that the books were like more subtle in their clues a lot of the time. Even the ones that later you're like, wow, obvious. It still was like really slipped in there.
Mhm.
Because
Well,
like you get
have to
like
be obvious, or people are just gonna be like, I get it. What?
you get like I still think the movies are way too obvious. Like they dumb it. They act like people are stupid watching them sometimes.
But you
But,
have to.
It mostly just bothers. What the one that bothers me is in the fourth movie how like obvious
his
Barney
clicking.
Crouch movie thing was. They made it super super obvious. Like my dad like a little bit into the movie, like not. It was like the first time you met Moody. My dad was like, "Oh, it's that guy," and I was like. And it upset me because in the book also with like the diary thing you get no hint that anything sinister has happened. Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
they get in a fight, he puts the book back in the cauldron and they leave and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like the movies tried to like make the hints like super obvious sometimes to the point where I'm like, okay. Like
Mhm.
Yeah, and in the books, I'm trying to think of like when you start like really getting that something's going on with Ginny, and like
it takes a long time
Yeah,
because It's such little things in the book. Yeah, it's like it's mentioned offhand a lot of the times. Like when everybody is getting the flu, I just read that part where it's like everybody in school is getting the flu, and it mentions like Ginny's been looking really pale, so Percy makes her take like a potion for it because he thinks she's getting sick. You know, like it's like
and
the
her
tiniest
strange
thing.
behavior is always masked in something else. Like it's like from the start, she's introduced as kind of this like super bubbly, oh, I have such a crush on Harry Potter, so it makes sense for me to run away anytime he's in the same room. So then when she's running away because she thinks she's killing people, like you're like, oh, she has such a crush on Harry Potter.
Also, the way you said Harry Potter, when you said I have a crush on Harry Potter, sounded exactly like Ginny in a Harry Potter movie. But no, it's totally true, because I think another time is like, yeah, she almost tells Harry something and runs away, and then it's like, oh, it's just that she was going to tell him about Percy dating the girl, but like that's not like it's always couched in something else. Like, oh, this is why she's acting weird. That you like never realize.
Not super believable. People just like writing her off as, oh, it's just blah blah blah. Like, it can't possibly be anything like life-threateningly important.
Yeah, it's Ginny Weasley. Like, yeah, you're like, it's this little 11-year-old girl, whatever.
I wouldn't do anything bad to an 11-year-old. I haven't done that in the past. There's something else I was going to say about that. Oh, even when, like, there are some things that are very obvious, like Harry meets Fox and learns about phoenixes, and it's like, phoenixes are reborn from the ashes. Their tears have healing properties, and they are incredibly strong. They come when they're called and are very loyal. And then Harry's gone in the Chamber of Secrets, and you're like, how in the world is he going to get out of here? Who will save him?
Yeah, that's kind of one where you almost bet that she wishes she'd set it up a book up before. Like, obviously, there's not that much time, but it is very much like, okay, here's the answer. Forget about this for a while. We'll come back to this later.
Even that, like, reading through it, it was like, oh, cool, a phoenix, interesting. And then they're down in the chamber. And it's like, oh, Fox is here. Fox heard that Harry needed help and is so loyal. Thank goodness. And then Harry's like dying, and it's like, oh yeah, Fox's tears can heal. And then it's like, oh, but they're still stuck in the chamber. Oh wait.
Yeah, I just thought it was like slightly strange, and this is kind of like the first book that starts doing it, where I say especially the second and third book, where there's things that she mentions and then never mentions again. Like the Phoenix isn't like, oh, I think it comes in like a little like once, like later, like in the series, but like the Phoenix just never occurs again. And then in the third one, like time travel happens, and then we just never talk about it again. And I'm a little bit like, J.K. Rowling, did you just forget about these things?
We just bring them back to destroy all the time turners in book 5. It's like, we can't deal with this anymore. Too many implications. Oh my gosh. What great books.
If you guys could make a Apologies potion and turn into somebody, who would you turn into?
Ooh.
I would turn into my sister and just troll her.
Yeah, does this have to be someone whose hair I have access to?
Yeah, that's
the trick, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't want to do like anybody famous or anything. I would probably just want to do somebody to like mess with them or something. That's, like,
yeah, I might do my best friend.
Like a friend, like do a friend. Yeah.
Honestly, I would probably turn into like one of the toddlers in my class just so I could be a jerk and get away with it.
Oh, I would turn into someone old because then I can be a jerk and get away with it. I always say that. I'm like, I can't wait till I get old and can start pissing people off. Maybe you'll do that.
Turn into like your boss for the day.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah, I'll do it.
Promotion.
Oh man, that'd be cool to give myself a raise.
Yeah.
Change it. Like, well, then you have.
But then you get into the whole like issue if you don't have sleeping draught cupcakes to get rid of your boss for a little while.
Yeah,
like
you have to find a way to get rid of them.
Yeah,
that's okay. I'll just go another day off.
Disposing of people, it's a problem.
Well, we're not offing them. We're just taking on their persona for a little while. My goodness, Kelly.
Well, and hoping they don't show up.
Well, maybe it's it's the day that they don't work. Maybe it's their off day. Go in then.
They came in just to promote you.
Exactly.
You're working so hard lately.
Can we
I would
also
like
Yeah.
want to look like Emma and then show up at Kelly's house and be like, "It's me, Emma." Just kidding. It's me.
Two in one deal.
I'm so excited.
Then you find out which one of us Kelly likes better, whether she's disappointed or
Yes.
excited when you reveal her. She's like, oh, it's Megan. This is all that, yeah.
I think at that point my main focus would be magic is real and you haven't told me.
This is how you choose to tell me.
I mean, that's a pretty bomb-ass way to tell your friend that magic exists. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's a good reveal.
I was actually thinking earlier today while I was reading this about like if like one of us like had a kid that like got into Hogwarts, like if Hogwarts was really real, how like none of us would believe each other. Like if you're like, oh, like where's your kid off to? And you're like, oh, they're at Hogwarts. I'd be like, ha, you're funny.
You're like, oh, they're in Gryffindor. Like, oh, yeah, me too. Like, they're like, no, actually. I mean, there must be some kind of non-disclosure agreement at Hogwarts for all the Muggleborns.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, like after the Battle of Hogwarts, like when the Ministry was destroyed, like all of the records of Muggle-born children were destroyed. So if you were born, I can't remember the year, I think it was like 90 to like 98 or something like that, and you never got your letter, it's because they lost track of you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'm very upset. I still
Also,
do not have my letter.
Can we take a moment to appreciate the fact that this book was the original reason that we were able to pinpoint the years that this series took place during?
Yes.
yeah.
I remember doing that math, like when I read this book, and I was like, okay, so 1492 is when he died, and it's his 500th death day. This book's taking place in 1992. Like, it's the whole
Oh, yeah, the
reason
death
now,
thing
but it
is
was the
definitely-
90s.
Yeah.
So like this book, and then in the 7th book we saw like the date that the Potters died. Like those were our the two times they like placed it in time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that they all wear uniforms, because having to write all that 90s fashion would have just been
A lot.
just imagining Harry Potter in like turtlenecks and
Yeah.
Hermione in jelly shoes and like butterfly pins.
One of the things I loved rereading it was just all of the smaller details that you don't get in the movie, like all of the ghosts and
Like Peeves, man.
yeah, Peeves.
I'm so mad he wasn't in the movies.
Mhm. They had a great computer game for Harry Potter, and I had the Sorcerer's Stone and the Chamber of Secrets, and I felt like I got my dose of Peeves back then, but now it doesn't work on any of my computers.
Which one was
because
it? 'Cause
time
there's
kept
definitely
moving on.
One that I played. Like
The
was it just,
PC
like,
game.
The
you
PC
played through the
one.
movie kind of thing.
It was like you learned spells, and to do the
Yeah.
spells, you would trace like different
Yeah, okay.
shapes. And
I have a
Mhm.
big. like,
And you
memory
collected
of-
Birdie Bot's beans.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
definitely played that, and maybe
Yeah.
the cards as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did
I didn't
something in
have
Hogwarts Garden in one of these games.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's-
There were like blasted discreets that you had to fight out in the garden in one of them.
Mhm.
I didn't have them, but Megan did, so I played them every
Yeah.
time.
And there was also it was either my brother or sister had a Game Boy, and we had, I think it was Sorcerer's Stone for the Game Boy, and that one was great and had a lot of stuff like out on the grounds that you could do.
My brother had Goblet of Fire for Game Boy, which I beat. It's the first video game I ever beat because I'm not very good at video games. But I remember it was fun because there was like a Yule Ball thing, and it was like a sequence thing. Like it was kind of like I don't know, like Dance Dance Revolution or something, but it was with like the buttons, where it would be like you had to like press like the up button and the right button, and you had to like do it like in time with the music and like in the right order and stuff, and it got like really fast, and it was fun.
Mhm.
I played that part of the game like over and over again because I enjoyed it so much.
We had someone ask about the Death Day Party and what book it was in, and it was this book.
Yeah.
Chamber of Secrets.
I think I have an answer to Megan's complaint about Kenneth Branagh not being attractive enough. I think because like looking at the picture in the book, so there's him, and then he's like super attractive in his youth in a portrait behind him. So he was super,
Okay.
and now he's just a small
Well, now we have to
lady.
look up. Young.
Young King Solomon. I mean, he did a lot of like Shakespeare movies and stuff.
Cool.
When he was younger, so.
Maybe. I could be on
Looks
board
a
with
lot
that.
like Ewan McGregor.
So what do you think the Dursleys would have done if Dudley had been born with magic?
Made a what's it called from Fantastic Beasts?
Mm.
The
Obscurial?
why can't I remember the name? Yeah, Obscurial.
It's particularly a good question for Petunia, because Petunia's whole thing is that she was jealous of Lily and she wanted to be a witch. Like, how would she have reacted to her child being a wizard?
I think she'd probably like be really proud. Like Vernon, on the other hand, I have no idea, but I feel like Petunia like would completely change her tune towards like magic because she did want to be a witch so bad. To be like, oh, look at my son! Look how cool he is! Look what he can do! He's he's the best.
Yeah, maybe she'd be like one of those like dance moms.
Yeah.
I feel like
Like
for sure
Vernon.
if Harry wasn't in her house, she would have been like that. With Harry in the house, I'm less certain.
Because they both love their kid, if nothing else. So all of a sudden, if Dudley's doing it, then maybe it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd still treat Harry terribly though.
Oh yeah.
They just have to
Oh
be
yeah,
different
definitely.
fears.
Well, then they'd just flip into like, my son's a wizard and you can't do anything that would ever make you as cool as he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was this another fanon thing, or was this actually a thing that J.K. Rowling talked about, where she considered having Dudley have a magic child?
Oh yeah,
I've heard that.
I think that's.
I've read it several places.
I think that's
and
fandom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I've definitely read a fan fiction where that was a thing, but I don't know if that's like an actual like thing.
Yeah, I don't think it actually happened, but she
no, it definitely didn't actually happen. The thing I read was that she like considered it.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds familiar.
I think Dudley would have been okay with it.
The Harry Potter wiki says that she considered having him be at platform 9 3/4 in the epilogue with one of his children.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would
I'm trying to find a
would've been
citation.
great.
Oh, damn, that would have been such a good missed opportunity.
And what did Dudley say? What was the last thing he said to Harry? I don't think you're useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those are my favorite kinds of lines where it's like, I don't hate
And
you.
when he left the cup of tea outside his door.
Oh, so yeah, that was on J.K. Rowling's official site. The thing about her considering having Dudley have a magical
Yes.
child. So yeah, it was a real thing.
I know things.
It happened in
I
my
need a
brain.
citation.
It's canon in my brain now, so.
Well, apparently she changed her mind because she decided that any latent wizarding genes would never survive contact with Vernon Dursley's DNA.
Amazing.
But apparently, like Dudley and Harry did get together over the years, and their children grew up knowing each other. So.
Mhm.
I heard that too.
We had a question from Ryan. What house do you think Dudley would be in?
Oh.
Hufflepuff?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
Because he, like, at the end, he did try to be nice. Like,
Yeah.
he just, like, grew up in such a toxic environment. Like, can you really, like,
Nature
blame
versus
him
nature.
a whole lot? Like, if he was raised by his, like, you know who his parents are. He was praised for being terrible to Harry.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
puffs
he's
are
not
all about
brave or-
fairness.
Well, they're also and everybody else. Like, you don't have to be anything to be a Hufflepuff. They're just like, we'll just take the lot. It's cool.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to be friendly. And second of all, you have to be a particularly good finder. It's like the requirements.
Dudley ever found.
Yes.
But yeah, like I feel like with Dudley, you do have to consider like what kind of person would he be outside. Like if he went to Hogwarts and was away from his parents, what kind of person would he be? You know,
Mhm.
But I mean, like a
That'd be
Draco.
even away from his
He went to
parents.
Hogwarts
because-
away from his parents.
Yeah, but I don't know that Dudley's personality is the same as Draco's, even though they both are like mean. They have very different personalities.
Okay, in the Sorting Hat song from 1995, it mentions
All
that.
the rest.
Yes,
I'll take the rest.
She takes the rest. She takes
I'm
everybody.
gonna fire it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because what if there is a wizarding kid that is not any of one of those 4 traits? Hufflepuff has their back.
That is true. But I mean, I still think
means that
finding
you
is
belong
important.
somewhere. Even if you
I
don't
like
belong
that.
anywhere, you still belong somewhere in the wizarding
Isn't it-
world.
Yeah. Isn't there that Tumblr post that's like, so we can all agree there's the 4 personality types. There's brave, there's smart, there's cunning, and miscellaneous.
My awesomeness is so great I can't be contained, so I'm with everybody else.
I definitely think of Hufflepuff as like the super friendly people, but they are so friendly that they also take the other people.
And like while Hufflepuffs are really friendly, they do also like they're not always nice because like in the Chamber of Secrets, you have them being super mean to Harry because they're like, obviously you're the heir of Slytherin and you killed our friend, and they like shun him and are really mean to him with no evidence. So
In book 4 with Cedric and that whole
Well,
thing.
with a little bit of evidence,
Yeah.
he did talk to him. He can make it.
Still no evidence he did it.
And to be fair, if I was 12 and trying to solve this kind of mystery, that would be all the evidence
Oh,
I
yeah,
need.
definitely.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that they're not always like fair and kind,
Yeah.
and you know. So. Did they take their loyalty to an extreme sometimes? Because that's both of these times. It's that they're being very loyal to Justin and then Cedric, to the point where they're like really mean to Harry. So.
Well, obviously he's not one of us, so I mean, like, really.
One of the things that I really was appreciating in the read through was Fred and George and how good they are at diffusing tension. Just like sticking by Harry, and like anytime he's walking down the halls, they're like, seriously dangerous wizard coming through. Look out, everyone.
Fred and George are awesome.
Oh, I love them so much.
I got really sad reading this book because like Fred and George would be like interacting and doing things together, and then I'd like suddenly be like, oh my gosh, Fred dies. And I just get really sad again, and I'd be like, they only get to do this until they're like, what, like 19 or something, and then they're separated forever.
Oh, no.
Don't make this sad, Emma.
Right.
That's awful. Like, I don't think I'd ever really thought about how old he was before.
Yeah, that makes it too real.
Yeah. I was sad because he was less of a beloved character, but I got sad when like Colin was bugging Harry, and I was like, yeah, he's annoying, but he's gonna die.
Be nice to him.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time reading early books in a series and not thinking about the later books.
Well, I always think like if someone's like, "Oh, I'm never gonna do that," I'm like, "Yes, you are." Like, kind of thing. But
I
don't
feel
wanna
really
be
sad
sad.
about characters' eventual fates. I'm like, they're never like. Whenever I like watch like the first Lord of the Rings movie and the hobbits are all happy at the beginning, I'm like, they're not gonna be happy like this again.
yeah, go along.
You're a bit of a downer.
Oh gosh.
You're welcome, everyone.
Thanks for just bringing that chat down.
Can't even enjoy the Fred and George comedic antics in the early books.
Oh, speaking of depressing things,
Uh-oh.
I don't know if I never put this together or if it had just been a really, really long time since I thought about it. But I was listening to the end when Harry puts the diary in his janky sock and gives it to Malfoy, who gives it to Dobby. And Dobby's got this sock now or whatever. And I was thinking about how, like, all of his Christmas presents from there on out are socks, and he, like, loves them. And he's always wearing different socks because he just loves the variety and he loves the socks. And Dobby dies too.
Happy, why is this sad?
And everybody
He just loves the
dies.
socks.
Everyone just dies.
Just wait till you get to the third book and you start thinking about Lupin and Sirius.
No.
Turn back, guys. Turn back.
I can't.
Sirius did not wreck me like a lot of other characters did. I haven't reread the fifth book in a really long time, so maybe it would now that I am older. But when it first came out, it didn't destroy me.
I threw my book across
when it first
I
came
remember
out.
that.
It wrecked me when it first came out, but it doesn't bother me as much now. Like other characters bother me more now, but because it was like the first major death, you know, so like it was super depressing.
Yeah.
And it was
so
like
sad. But like my like death that the two deaths that I like can never get over are Fred and Snape. To this day, like I cannot watch the 7th movie like without crying. Like I can't. And I've seen this movie probably 15 times. Just like fast forward.
I don't care about Snape dying. So I'm
like,
I'm like, whatever.
My heart.
I'm just like, this seems about right.
Yeah.
Well, see, like I hardly ever watch the second movie because this is actually one of my least favorite books. I don't know why. I just don't really like it. So I'm like, whatevs. I'll watch the third one for the 80th time.
I hate the third movie so much.
I hate the third
Really?
movie.
It's
I
my
don't know
favorite
why.
book.
Continuity errors.
It's
Okay,
my
fair
favorite book,
enough,
but I
fair
hate
enough.
the movie.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
favorite Harry Potter movie is Chamber of Secrets. My favorite Harry
Really?
Potter book is Prisoner of Azkaban. I love the book. It's so good.
My favorite movie is definitely Order of the Phoenix. My favorite book is Prisoner of Azkaban, followed by Order of the Phoenix.
Really?
I like Order of the
Huh.
Phoenix a lot.
I don't know my favorite movie. Definitely Order of the Phoenix for book, but
There's so many people who don't like Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
It was definitely an acquired taste for me. I hated it when I first. Well, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it when I first read it. But now I love it. It's definitely my
okay.
favorite
When we
movie.
say didn't like it, like on a Harry Potter scale,
On a Harry
right?
Potter
It's
scale,
a
yeah.
5-star book.
All right.
You kind of read it, you're like, eh.
I still read it within like 24 hours of getting it. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So I'll have to reread it and see.
Like
That's
that book
what
makes you
I-
feel things, mostly
It does.
angry things, but like
Yeah.
that
it also
book has
makes
the
you
most
think a lot
emotion.
too. I think. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just got so much going on when you like reread. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to unpack in that book.
Yeah. I was a huge fan of Dumbledore's Army. I just thought that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's my favorite cover out of all the American editions. I love the Order of the Phoenix cover.
Yeah.
It's really
and we will
pretty.
talk all about this 3 years from now.
Yeah, I was thinking about that
Yeah.
earlier. I was like,
Jumping
what about
back.
when we like talk about like Deathly Hollows? Like,
Oh my god. Aaron's tiny human might be big enough to join in on that talk.
Oh my gosh.
I have
That's
some things
crazy.
to say.
I remember Order of the Phoenix for me was that like in between period because it was so long before the books came out. As a kid, that was my first time ever really coming to terms with the fact that my books that I loved were written by humans. Because I remember I was like 11 or 12 or something, and I was so mad that J.K. Rowling would dare to have a child when I had a book that I wanted to read, and she was not finishing it because she got pregnant again. And like my head just like blamed the baby. And it was like the first time I ever had to be like, wait, like authors are people with lives.
Also, bonus point for Order of the Phoenix, it is significantly the longest one. It is the one that offers you the most Harry Potter.
It's true.
I think that counts for something.
Yeah.
Most Harry Potter for your value, yeah.
yeah. I remember that because when I read it, I was like, this is the longest book I've ever read. I felt like really, really proud of myself.
Yeah.
Like it's a big. I'm looking at the word counts now. It's like 257,000 words. That is a lot of book.
It's a
Damn.
lot of words.
Whoa.
Why it took her like
Whoa.
3 years to write
By
it.
me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
back to Chamber of Secrets, but still.
Yeah.
We will talk about that in 3 years.
Chamber of Secrets is 5,000 words, in case anyone is curious.
How many? Sorry.
85,141.
Okay, yeah.
I heard 5,000 words and I was
Yeah,
really
me too.
confused
That's all I
for a
heard at
second.
That is talent to tell that story in that short amount of words.
Right.
My last note that we haven't talked about yet that I put in this book is that I like how Hogwarts doesn't do syllabus week. Literally the first day of school, their first class is herbology, and they're like repotting these deadly plants. Like, they could knock them out for hours if their earmuffs aren't on. I was like, dang.
Why would that
And
be?
then they have to
why
go
would you be
capture
happy
some
about
Cornish
that?
pixies in their like next class. So
That's
a
true.
hardcore first day of school.
Yeah.
Syllabus
Lockhart
week
just
is like the
loses
best.
them.
Yeah.
He like doesn't tell them what to do or anything. He's like,
He
let me
doesn't
just
know what to do.
page. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, their first day, it's like they have those two, and then they have to transform beetles into buttons in Transfiguration. Like, they go straight in.
Hogwarts goes hardcore.
But what are they supposed to? How are they supposed to know when their like midterms are and like what to expect and what chapters to read when? Like, syllabuses are important, people.
I love they have the dueling club or whatever, and they talk about Harry practicing his spells towards the end of the book, and it says he was getting particularly good at the disarming charm.
Yeah.
And I had like this heartwarming moment of like, you can defeat the Dark Lord with that.
His trademark spell.
Oh. Do we have any final things we want to cover? We've been going about an hour.
I like that Michael's in the comments.
Is he? Yeah, of course he is.
He's got opinions.
We had a question here from Nicole. Did you ever wonder why Hagrid wasn't forgiven when the truth about the heir and who really opened the chamber came out at the end? Come on, let him do magic publicly again, right?
That always seems pretty crappy. Yeah.
I've never thought about that before.
And I feel like Dumbledore could have done that. Like, if he had just thought to do it.
He gets to teach the next year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he does get to teach the next year, so.
He still never gets to use his wand again.
Yeah, they should have let him get a new wand.
Yeah.
I feel at that point he was just kind of, and also Dumbledore, I'm sure, knew he was using his wand. Yes.
Yeah, I actually never thought about the connection that it's after this that he gets to teach a class. Like, that probably wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah, I always figured that was the connection. Like,
yeah, I never.
Oh, look, Hagrid's like a fully sort of accepted person now.
I don't know. Feels half accepted to me. Let him get a fully functioning wand. And
let him go to class with the kids.
Yeah, like let him learn the things that he wanted to learn.
But I guess you get a wand before you finish school, so.
Yeah. Like Harry's wandering around with a wand.
Yeah,
Ron, the kid whose first suggestion was to take his dad's half-broken flying car and fly it back so he could have a wand.
Is there anything else? Because I noticed like all of us are like yawning. So.
Yeah. We did have a comment from Selfmade Geek that there's fan art of Harry taking Hagrid shopping for his second chance at Hogwarts, and that it's really cute. And now I have to find it.
Like, is there a wizard GED? Like,
right? Like there must be.
Well, there's the quick spell course that Filch is doing. Maybe he'll do that. Yeah.
I like it.
The online correspondence.
Yeah.
Or not online, but yeah, it's like a correspondence.
Online, yeah, like gets his heart like, wired up.
Real quick, that's an interesting thing. Do you think like kids, like if Hogwarts like really did exist, do you think Muggle-born kids like go and they're like, so what's the Wi-Fi password? Like,
oh yeah, that's some of my favorite stuff to find on the internet is like when people are talking about Muggle-borns in Hogwarts, and yeah, like people just like singing the songs of their decade or Wi-Fi or like whatever, because like the wizard kids will be like, I don't get it. But then it's kind of weird because like even if Harry is going back home during holidays, like he must know what a telephone is. Like he must know some music. He must know that like you don't need a quill. You can just get a ballpoint pen. Like he must know these things.
But Harry loves the wizarding world so much that I think he's willing to just totally embrace all of it and like leave behind the Muggle world, because he's like had such a crappy life in the Muggle world.
But like
even if just by accident.
Yeah, Hermione's parents must be like, can I please call my kid? I don't want to have to write her a letter and find an owl. Like,
Technology doesn't work at Hogwarts, so what are they gonna do? Like, the magic stops it from working, so they can't have technology there. But I do love that one of the few things you get like that is I don't remember which book it's in, but it's Dean's like football poster. I think it might be in the first book, but he has like a poster of like his like football team or whatever, and everyone's like, "What do you mean they don't move?" And like asking about how the sport works and stuff. So you do get a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm. I think I found it. I'm trying to put it in the discussion. There we go. The fan art picture. Sorry, I'm jumping back. It's so cute that I just like instantly teared up.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, no, I just clicked on it. I'm like waiting for it to load.
Yeah, same.
Oh, that is so cute.
Oh my gosh.
That's adorable. Did you put it in like the?
I put it in the discussion section as well.
Oh, this makes me so happy. Oh,
Oh man.
that is adorable.
I like the kids like side-eyeing
That
Hagrid
was
in class.
Oh my gosh. Everything hurts.
I mean, it doesn't for another 3 books, but
All right, are we ready to call it?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for talking about Harry Potter and all the things with us. We'll be back next Sunday with a live chat. What is it?
We don't know yet.
We may or may not be.
We might not be back next week.
Depending on how many people are going to be gone because of the Super Bowl. So we'll let you know tomorrow.
Oh, that is nice.
Right
I don't know what sports are.
I'm
Anyway,
like, I'm fine. This doesn't matter to me.
we might be back next week, but if we aren't, we'll be back the week after that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for joining us again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Still says it's stopping. We should be off air, but it just still says it's stopping.
Well, we're apparently still live.
We're just gonna be live forever.
Yeah.
Lives never end.
Should we keep waving? Like,
I'm pretty sure the second I hit the button, it goes off air. Okay, there we go. Oh, it said it failed to stop the broadcast. Try
Whoops.
Okay, we're still live. We're trying to leave. Sorry.